Some Democrat strategists are lamenting the election wasn't in August when they did have more mojo. So did Democrats peak too early? And does that mean the GOP heading towards some sort of a historic landslide? Well, let's get into it with tonight's Man Panel. We've got Versus Media podcast host and The Spectator contributing editor Stephen L. Miller has some thoughts. He's joined tonight by former Biden campaign surrogate, Democrat strategist. We don't know if he still has a boyfriend. Because he's
I do right now.
Thank God. Kevin Walling, all manned up. And we've got the host of the Part of the Problem podcast. Oh, he is the fan favorite. He is the one to watch in 2024. It is Dave Smith. Welcome back, everyone. Stephen L. Miller, I will start with you. Democrats were very confident that abortion was the issue to run on because it galvanized independent women. But it didn't just galvanize them in one direction, did it?
No, it's a huge problem. Just this week, a New York Times Siena poll came out, college poll came out that saw a 32-point swing since September. The Democrats were leading 14 points, and now GOP is leading 18 points with independent women. And largely it's due to the fact that it doesn't matter if you're pro-life or pro-choice. Every woman right now is experiencing increased costs in everything, inflation, food prices, gas prices, everything. And so I think that what you saw today at Biden's abortion-a-thon celebration was basically a way to get that swing under control, because I think that one really jolted them. And so they're trying to basically turn out their 20-something, I don't know, BuzzFeed journalist base to go out and vote on this issue alone. And this issue doesn't really affect most women, as it shows.
No, but inflation in the economy certainly does, Kevin. And when you have people whose wages are not meeting costs, when things cost a lot more than they did a year ago and they're only making a little bit more, that's the most important thing. We're going to talk to Jonathan Hoenig a little later in the show about people going deep into credit card debt before there is an official recession. So if you've got this kind of pain that is this kind of reality, why focus on a single issue that doesn't affect everybody?
Well, Kennedy, it's a good question. You know, it's always a debate whether the election is going to be a persuasion election or a turnout election. And I think we're so siloed as Americans right now between our Republican and Democratic Party blinders that, you know, we're focusing on base engagement. And for a lot of base Democrats, abortion in the wake of the Dobbs decision is a driving issue. And there are daily reminders, of course, about the state of the economy and inflation, which is why that has obviously come back as the months have passed by since Dobbs happened. But some of the amazing numbers that I'm seeing just in terms of the early vote out of Georgia show record numbers of early voters turning out, even more so than we saw in 18 and 20. And a lot of that, I think, is driven by women on this particular issue. So I think it's an issue that's kind of under the radar screen. Obviously, the economy is number one, and I've been saying it will be number one for months now with the state of inflation and gas prices and food costs. But I think for the people where abortion is that number one issue, that is a huge driver, I think, at the polls that might go underreported that we're seeing right now.
So he's talking about underreporting, Dave, but I think some of the underreporting comes from pro-life women because there are a lot of people who are anti-abortion in this country. I'd say, you know, roughly half of people are certainly anti-late-term abortion, but pretty much everybody is anti-inflation.
Well, that's not completely true. I mean, the billionaire class, big banks, debt holders all really like inflation very much. But yes, you're right, Kennedy. The vast majority of people do not like currency being devalued. I think there's, you know, I kind of think that the point that a lot of people are missing with this is that Democrats are focusing so much on abortion because they really have no other option. And the truth is that most of the other Democratic policies are extremely unpopular. I know this is mostly in the rearview mirror now, but the championing of lockdowns and vaccine mandates and mask mandates and school closures, these are all wildly unpopular, especially in hindsight. Wokeism is very unpopular. Teaching wokeism to little children is extremely unpopular. Sending tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine while people here are hungry, that's unpopular. I mean, go down the list, you know, decriminalizing property crime, homeless encampments, all of these things that people really care about are that the Democrats are kind of on record on being on the wrong side, at least in terms of what's popular. And what's interesting is that the party who, you know, is constantly talking about threats to democracy insist that the most important issues must be climate change, abortion, wokeism, and arming Ukraine. Yet you cannot find any opinion poll anywhere that will tell you that these are the American people's top priorities. And so in no true sense are they actually representing the American people. So really all they can do is hope to gin up their base that is pro-choice. I mean, certainly the Democrat hardcore base is, and try to drive up turnout. That's really the only option they have at this point.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. There is a massive disconnect between what people are experiencing and how the administration talks about that. And it is a form of gaslighting, Stephen. You know, when you have the president saying, we got a hell of an economy, but you've got people who aren't earning enough money to pay for energy bills and food, and they're having to dip into their savings and max out their credit cards. It really feels like people are being blamed for their own problems. That's not really a solution.
Yeah, he said the economy is strong as hell as he dipped into an ice cream cone the size of his head. Pretty tone deaf. To that other guy's point here about Georgia, he's right about Georgia seeing record turnout. They're seeing almost double early voting since we saw in 2018. And if you remember, this is what Stacey Abrams and Joe Biden said was the new Jim Crow. And this is what ended up in the All-Star game being moved out of the state. And here it is, record voting.
Yeah.
Good call, guys.
To Colorado, where they have even more restrictive voting laws. All right, more at the Man Panel in just a bit. Coming up first, things got very heated last night in the Georgia debate. 3 people running for governor there. Could one of our favorite libertarians blow up the entire race? Shane Hazel here with the postgame. He's next.